champagne, caviar, lobster, steak, burgers. What's going on, folks? And welcome back to the channel. My name is John, and in this video, I'm gonna break down for you exactly how I managed to spend over 1 million miles within the span of about 18 months or so. Make sure to stick around because I'm gonna give you a pretty good reference as to how exactly you can go about accumulating miles and start going down the path of what I would call travel hacking. If that sounds like a plan, tap that thumb icon to spread the good word and we will dive in. Now, not to get too personal, but when I started getting in the points and miles game, I was also in a long distance relationship. My girlfriend at the time, she was living in Sydney, Australia, whereas I was living in the United States. Now that's quite the distance, and whenever we met, we would always go on some amazing trips, about 3 or 4 a year. We went to places like the Galapagos, Peru, Mauritius. We went to all these amazing tropical destinations, but they were pretty far from me, and price of those plane tickets were anywhere from $500 to $1,000. So I realized pretty quickly, I needed to figure out a way to make this work financially. I couldn't be dropping $1,000 plus on every single trip, and I couldn't be doing that 4 to 5 times a year. In steps, credit card points and airline miles, AKA travel hacking. So what exactly is travel hacking? I'm sure if you ask 5 people, you'll get 6 different answers. For me, travel hacking, and I would define it quite simply, I'm paying less for my trip, significantly less than the person sitting next to me. For me, I was using points and miles to do that. For other people, they're just going online and finding some really cool routes or using an app known as Skip Lag to be able to fly part of a journey to pay less in cash. For me, it was primarily paying less for a trip by using credit card points and airline miles. For example, I was able to fly on a first class cabin in Cathay Pacific that would have normally cost $18,000 retail for only $57. Next, you're probably wondering why anybody would want to travel hack. Is it illegal? Am I doing something wrong? No, there's nothing wrong with travel hacking. It's really just about finding outsized value so that you can travel. One of the reasons people might want to travel hack is for these, what I would call once in a lifetime dream redemptions. Those first class suites, bed in the skies, those type of redemptions where you might have never thought that you had the opportunity to do are now all of a sudden possible. Another category of persons I see using travel hacking are families, right? When families go on trips, there are a lot of people to pay for. And even if you're just flying economy down to, say, Disney World, that's a lot of tickets if it's a family of 4 or 5. So they're using credit card points and miles to be able to supplement their spending so that the trip is cheaper and more cost efficient. Another category of people that I see using a ton of travel hacking are gonna be solo travelers, recent college graduates. You don't have a ton of money, but you wanna see the world. And so using your credit card points as well as your airline miles to be able to get out there and to travel. Now that we know what exactly travel hacking is, who might want to be using some travel hacking? Third question probably is, how do you get started? The easiest answer to that is, open up a credit card. Chase Sapphire Preferred, 100,000 point sign-up bonus. If you get that, you are now a travel hacker. Congratulations. Next question you're wondering, what are my points even worth? I have 100,000 points here, John. What does that mean? How do I use them? In the world of travel hacking, typically points are measured by their cent per point. To put it simply, it is the dollar amount of the hypothetical plane ticket, train ticket, whatever ticket you would have bought, divided by the number of points you actually used in place of that. If you were going to buy a plane ticket for $1,000, but instead you used 100,000 points to book that ticket, you would get a value of 1 cent per point. 1 cent per point, that's pretty average. That's typically, I would say, a good standard baseline. If you're at half a cent per point, you could do better. You're not getting the most value. If you're over that, then you are really doing well. The general rule of thumb that I like to follow is if you want the most value for your points, avoid gift cards, straight cash back. Even sometimes going through a travel portal might not be the best idea. In my opinion, and this is my opinion only, the best value is to take your credit card points and transfer them to an airline to get airline miles. So the very first redemption booking I made was in March of 2018. My girlfriend and I, along with some other friends, we were heading out to Coron in the Philippines. She was flying from Sydney, I was flying from Boston. So I booked myself a first class ticket aboard Cathay Pacific. It cost about 70,000 miles and $57 out of pocket. Retail, that plane ticket was about $18,000. For my first time, it was everything that I could have imagined and just so much more. The seat was enormous. It was completely lie flat. There was turn down service. all the food you could possibly imagine. Champagne, caviar, lobster, steak, burgers. It blows my mind that that is just how the 1% truly travel every time. Now, before you say, whoa, 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 what about your girlfriend? I did book her a business class ticket from Sydney to Coron as well. That cost about 40,000 miles and $96. And when we got to Coron, oh my gosh, Coron is, I would deem it, the common man's Maldives. Maldives are expensive, they're hard to get to. Coron, very accessible, very affordable. You've got crystal clear water, these amazing kind of limestone formations. I mean, it's just an incredible place. So if you never go, definitely go and check it out. Now on the way back, I wanted to stretch my miles. So I flew in Cathay Pacific's economy class for 30,000 miles and spent about $32 in taxes and fees. For my girlfriend, I booked her in Qantas Premium Economy, and that was 43,000 miles, and it cost about $62. Next trip was in May of 2018. This time, it was only my girlfriend and I when we were off to Bali. I used 130,000 United Airlines miles, and it cost about $22 or so in taxes and fees. What's amazing about this first class booking, I actually got to fly 2 aircraft across 2 carriers because there's a layover. So my first leg, I flew on All Nippon Airways first class. The seat design on All Nippon Airways first was amazing. In addition, I flew the A330 for Thai Airways first class, and on the A330, the double decker, the second deck for first class, the front of it is kind of a lounge area. I don't know who would need more space given how big those first class seats were, but it was really cool that they had that lounge area up on the front. This time though, I didn't book my girlfriend's flight from Sydney all the way to Bali because it's actually pretty cheap for Australians to get out to Bali. For my US audience, Australians going to Bali is equivalent to Americans going to Cancun. Bali though, you need to go. It is just such an incredible place. The culture is amazing. All of the sites are just so unique. I mean, on one hand, you've got diving and beaches and surf, and then you go up north and it's lush, tropical jungle and waterfalls. And you go a little bit east and you've got volcanoes. We even did a sunrise volcano hike. It was crazy. So if you can go out to Bali, definitely. And when we got to Bali, I was able to use my Marriott points. Ritz-Carlton, amazing, floating breakfast, 10/10, would recommend. On the way back, I used my Delta Airlines miles. It cost me about 90,000 or so miles and about $170. I flew 2 legs. So one was on Garuda, Indonesia. And what was really cool about this cabin was I was the only business class passenger. Quite literally, there was no one else in the cabin, which was awesome. And my second leg was on China Southern. I will say broadly, the mainland Chinese carriers, probably not what I would try to look to if I had to pay cash. Again, don't get me wrong, lie flat seat, the works, but across kind of all the other carriers I've flown up to that point, at the lower end of the totem pole. I did fly my girlfriend home from Bali. So Bali to Sydney, I flew her home in Singapore Airlines, 58,000 miles and about $42. Singapore Airlines business class is probably one of my favorite, even though I've never gotten to fly it, just the service and the product and now the update to it. One day, we'll put that on the checklist. Fast forward to August of 2018, and I had a job change. I got a new job. I had a little bit of a break, and I decided that I wanted to visit Australia and visit my girlfriend and her family and her friends for the very first time. Only problem was, I was trying to book a ticket to Australia within a week. And the retail value of those tickets at the time was north of $2,000. That's a pretty penny, and I'm not trying to throw down $2,000 on an economy class ticket. So I turned to my trusty friend, United Airlines. And I was able to use 80,000 United Airlines miles, and it cost about $118 in taxes and fees. And I flew on Qantas's economy class from Boston to Sydney round trip, much better than the $2,000 it would have cost out of pocket if I paid cash. Now fast forward to September of 2018. During our entire relationship, we'd always kind of said, you know, let's meet halfway. But really, if you kind of see the theme here, we were out to Bali, we were out to the Philippines, I went to Australia. It wasn't so much halfway so much as that side of the world. Not complaining though, because I love that side of the world. But anyway, 2018 in September was when we actually met halfway in Hawaii. I flew out there in first class on Hawaiian Airlines. I used about 80,000 Hawaiian Airlines miles, and here's the kicker. I paid $5.60 in taxes and fees. Crazy. Get to Hawaii, we get to Kauai. If you've never been, but you've seen the movie Jurassic Park, get your butt to Kauai. I mean, the canyons, the valleys, the lush tropical jungle, and just rainbow after rainbow after rainbow. Kauai, it just really looks like a scene out of a movie. I mean, I guess quite literally it was because I think Jurassic Park filmed there. And on the way back, I also flew Hawaiian Airlines, this time in economy, 30,000 points, and I paid $5.60. For this trip, I did not book any of my girlfriend's flights because I think there were sales going from Sydney to Hawaii. That's pretty much the travel for the rest of 2018. At the end of 2018, oh, actually, you know what? We did have another trip. I completely forgot about this. I won't throw this one in there in the mile counter because it doesn't technically count because we didn't do it. But at the end of the year for December 2018, we were planning to go to Mexico and I had actually booked her a business class ticket. That was, I think, about 115,000 ANA miles. Plans actually changed very quickly, and instead of us going to Mexico, she actually came and visited my family for the holidays. So thank you for coming and visiting. At the same time, those 115,000 miles now are actually locked with ANA and they're set to expire next February, so I need to find a way to actually use those. To 2018 December, and in the span that she visited my family and I, she actually interviewed for a job in Boston. Long story short, she got the job. By May of 2019, she had moved here and we're now living together. Though that's not where my points or miles journey, I guess, stops because there were still 2 more trips we're to cover. The next one occurred in August of 2019. This was again during a break between 2 jobs. I flew down to Roatan, Honduras. Now I went solo because I was actually doing a liveaboard scuba diving trip. Basically, I'm on a boat for 7 nights and where there's 4 dives per night, a morning, 2 during the day, 1 at night. It was incredible. I was able to use my United Airlines miles. I flew down there in economy, 26,000 miles and about $5.60. On the way back, I flew American Airlines economy and it was about 26,000 miles as well as about $50 or so in taxes and fees. Fast forward a little bit more from that trip, we're at November of 2019 and kind of the last trip we took before the whole world went. We did what I thought would have been a dream destination of all dream destinations, and we did it for free. We traveled to the Maldives. We flew from Boston to the Maldives on Qatar Airways business class. It is just such an incredible product. So the Qatar Airways Q Suites business class, it folds into a bed that's conjoined in the sky. Never in a million years would I have thought that that would have been possible. But to have been able to do it with my girlfriend is just out of this world. A double bed in the sky. How crazy is that? I still can't believe that we were able to do that. It costed us about 140,000 miles for the both of us, one way in business class, and about $20 or so per person. Once we got there, we stayed at the St. Regis. We stayed on an overwater bungalow, which I again also used points to book, about 240,000 or so. And at retail value, I think it was anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 per night. 5 nights, free 99. This was such an incredible stay. Quite literally, we have an overwater bungalow with a plunge pool where the ocean's our backyard, as well as just coral reefs that we can snorkel right off of every morning. There's hammocks that we can sit out at, and I'll tell you something, the bathtub overlooking the Indian Ocean with some bubbles and a sunset. In the sunset, oh my gosh, I don't think I've seen a prettier sunset anywhere in the world. It's quite literally in your backyard, just setting over the ocean. Such an amazing trip that otherwise, I don't think I would have ever paid cash for. On the way back, we were a little bit more conservative. We flew in Qatar Airways economy class, and for the both of us, it was 70,000 points and about 70 bucks or so per person, so about 140 in total. And that was pretty much it. That was the last trip we took together, and I think most people have taken really since the whole shutdown. If you've been following along, you probably would know that roughly now we've spent about 913,000 miles. The rest of these miles come from me making just small trips from Boston to New York. In that same time period, I did about 5 or 6 trips down to New York, which costed anywhere from 10,000 to 15,000 points round trip. So that's another 60 to 70,000 miles on top. And we get to a grand total of somewhere around 970 or 980. And there you have it. That's 1,000,000 miles in the span of 18 months. That's not adding in the bonus of roughly 240,000 from the St. Regis, Maldives, as well as another 240,000 from the Ritz-Carlton in Bali. So if we aggregate those together, that's about 1.5 million points in miles that I spent in 18 months. The retail cash value of all of that, easily $70,000 to about $80,000 if I paid cash. Instead, I paid less than $900 in taxes and fees in total. That is absolutely insane to have been able to do that. Now, as far as recommendations, you're probably thinking, you want to get into travel hacking, you've got the credit cards, what are we thinking? My first step is this. do you know where you want to go? So if you know where you want to go and you know how you want to fly, then honestly do what I would do, hit Google and boom, how do I get to destination in blank class with points or miles? That's it. Now, if you don't know where you want to go, this is where you probably have a little bit more flexibility. You're gonna want to accumulate credit card points. I recommend taking a look at Chase, American Express, and Citi, because these points allow you to transfer to airline partners. Remember earlier I mentioned, that's where you're gonna get the most value, and that's where I've gotten most of my value. By pooling the points, you're just gonna have the flexibility of when the trip pops up or when you think of a destination, boom, you're going to book. Wow, it has been an incredible video. Thank you so much for sticking around. Please let me know in the comment section. Is this something that you're interested in? Have you considered travel hacking? Do you like to fly for free? Do you like to fly in first? Do you like to fly in business? Or would you rather just take 100 economy class tickets because you just care about the destination, not so much the journey? I'd love to know. As always, my name is John. Appreciate you tuning in. And until next time, peace.